Assalamu alaikum. We're very happy to see you again. It seems like a long time since we were together online. We're happy to be back for another episode of our Colors of Islam program. And that's produced by Sound Vision, also the creator of Adam's World. This is a wonderful online forum where we can explore our world from a very special lens. We're interested in having a conversation about racism. We want to be sure that you're not left alone to try to understand complex problems in our world. And we want to create safe space for you to learn about them and to ask questions or share your concerns. So let's get started. I want to introduce Auntie Hiba. She's with us.
Everyone.
And also Baba Ali. He's with us today too.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
And we want to talk to you about, so why are we doing some kind of special programming today? Let's talk about that for just a minute. There were some protests, or there are protests going on across the United States. Raise your hand if you live in the United States. Okay, have any of you seen those protests on television? If you have, raise your hand. Okay. Those protests followed an incident which was a very, very ugly incident. It was an incident where a man named George Floyd was killed by a police officer when he knelt on his neck for almost 9 minutes. And there was a young girl who was 17 years old who videotaped that incident. Everybody saw the incident and everybody was really, really upset by it. Did any of you see that video too? If you did, raise your hand. These images are hard to watch, but the thing that we have to remember is what happened to George Floyd that involved racism was the same on the day before, on Sunday, May 24th, and the same on the day after, Tuesday, May 26th. Racism has a long history in the United States. It goes all the way back, and there are remnants of the problems that existed and centered around slavery still in our society today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about racism. We're going to use some important words we want to make sure you understand. So right now, if you could, go grab a piece of paper and a pencil. We want you to write down certain things. We'll give you just a minute. While we're waiting for you to do that, I want to show you a very special song. This song is by a 12-year-old boy who lives in the United States. His name is Kedron Bryant. He was feeling lots of emotion when he saw those videos, and so was his family. And he wrote this very short song that I think expresses all of the range of emotion that Black Americans feel about this issue. So let me show you Kedron Bryant's song.
I'm a young Black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
That seems like a pretty simple message. What do you think? That he just wants to live, and that sounds so simple. We're going to talk about why it's not so simple, though, in the United States. I'm going to pass the lead to Hiba, who's going to talk to us a little bit about what Allah tells us about diversity and difference in our creation.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm so happy to see you guys. I know we're talking about difficult things today, but I know that we are also brave and we're ready to do what Allah has always told us to do. So I wanted to turn to the Quran and see what Allah has said. It's from Surah Hujurat, and it's ayah number 13. So I'll just read it out to you, and you guys can follow along if you have the Quran in front of you, or just listen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. And the translation of this is, O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes, so that you can know one another. Indeed, the best of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous. Indeed, Allah knows everything. For me, it's pretty simple that Allah has given us a message right so clearly in the Quran that we are made differently. There are different colors, there are different tribes, there are different groups of people, different races, like we know. But the sole purpose of getting to know each other. And isn't that cool? Don't you guys like to get to know new people? Sometimes it's like, oh, I never knew this was something about you, for example. And the Prophet ﷺ has also said something pretty clearly about our differences. He didn't come and say here that we all look the same, we are all exactly the same from outside, but he said that we are different in terms of Arab, non-Arab colors and all that, but what matters is how much we believe. And so, do you guys remember something called the farewell sermon? Do you guys remember his khutbatul wada? Does anyone know that? Give me a thumbs up if you've heard of that. Yeah, during the Prophet's last Hajj, he spoke about this, that maybe I won't see you again, but I have some important things to say to you. So on the Mount of Arafah, he climbed up there and he said many very good things, but one of the things he said is relevant to today. He said, all mankind is from Adam and Hawa. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, meaning they're not better than a non-Arab. And a non-Arab has no superiority over an Arab. Also, a white has no superiority over a black. And a black doesn't have superiority over a white, except by what? Who remembers the end of this sentence? Except by piety. Thank you very much. Yes, Lara, you got it right. Except by piety and good deeds. And let everyone be brothers, because that is the true definition of brotherhood. And there are many other ayahs in the Quran that talk to us about being different, but coming together under piety. And I think I wanted to talk to, maybe Baba Ali can shed some light on this, that Muslims, we know the theory that that's who we are, but what's going on? Why are we forgetting the message, or what's happening here? I'm a little confused about this, because we do know what Allah said.
Yeah, if you really think about it, this whole year has been kind of strange. So starting from 2020, we started out with the coronavirus, and then after that, everyone's stuck staying at home, and then after that, people were on TV and protesting and angry. And as we're discussing today, things are a bit very, very strange, And when you're thinking about it, it's like, okay, why is everyone so angry? Why is everyone so mad? Well, some of the things that people are angry about right now, Islam came and resolved this issue. We have to really go back to what Islam says, because if we really go to Islam and we look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us, it will completely clean all of these problems that's made everything so messy. In our country right now, we have a lot of people who don't like each other. And unfortunately, this is not just in America, it's different parts of the world. Now, the reason why we don't like each other is different. Some people, white people may not like black people may not like white people. But if you really look at it, it's just a pigment of our skin, right? And if you look at the country, sometimes, I feel like I'm better than you. I'm from, for example, so let's say I'm from India, and somebody else may be from Pakistan. I'm better than you because, there you go, Auntie Hiba's from Pakistan, and let's say, imagine, I'm from Iran, but let's just say, I say, look, I'm from India, and she's from Pakistan, and Indians are better than Pakistanis, and et cetera, et cetera. And like, yeah, and then people start disliking each other, right?
So,
But did you know, Auntie Hibba, that Pakistan and India were actually the same country not that long ago?
so Baba Ali, I hear what you're saying, but I would like to ask Sister Zahra as well. Does like India and Pakistan, is that my race? Like, is that races or what's going on? Like, what's a race exactly?
So
I
one thing that's very important to know about race is that race is a man-made construct or concept, right? It was something that men identified in order to separate one another. Race is something that is defined by outside characteristics, what we look like, where we come from. I wanted to take a little poll. I thought this might be fun. It asks, what color are your eyes? What color is your hair? And what color is your skin? Okay, we're going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more second. And now we're going to end the poll and I can share the results with you. Okay, 93% or 13 of you said you have brown eyes. Only one person had blue eyes. And 0 people had green eyes. Hiba, what color are your eyes?
Brown.
So are mine. How about Ali?
My eyes are a little bit brown greenish, so I couldn't even answer either of them, but I'll be kind of stuck in between.
Okay, alhamdulillah. And let's look at what color is your hair. About 50% of the people said black. About 21% or 3 people said light brown. About 29% or 4 people said dark brown. We have no one with red hair or no one with blonde hair. You can't see my hair, but my hair is brown. How about you, Hiba?
Dark brown, yeah.
Okay, and Ali, we can see your hair. Your hair, how would you describe it?
Probably dark brown or light brown, somewhere
Okay.
brownish.
Even though maybe many of us described our hair as brown, there are variations in that color, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's look at what color is your skin. 36% or 5 of you said it was tan. 50% or 7 of you said it was light brown. 1 person described it as caramel colored, and 1 person described it as dark brown. What if we decided that all of the blue-eyed people were better than those who had any other eye color? That would just be kind of an arbitrary or weird decision to make. But what if we had the power to make people feel bad about their brown eye color? That would be a whole different scenario. And that would be similar to what we're talking about when we talk about racism. Using any of these qualities, the color of your eyes, the color of your hair, mostly the color of your skin, to determine who would be superior or on the top and who would be considered inferior or on the bottom. Ali, I wanted you to also talk about how Shaitan mixes everything up in this area.
Yes, so, you know, all the different things I was trying to explain earlier regarding us being from different countries and just being from different races and from being different backgrounds is all ways of division for us and the way people have divided themselves. And I was trying to give an example earlier, like just as an example, like India and Pakistan, they were the same country. So was Bangladesh. Bangladesh wasn't even a country in 1970. It became a country in 1971. So we have, believe it or not, over 150, I think around 150 countries. All these divisions, right? All these different, we have races and people make up extra stuff to make divisions between even races. And all these divisions, all these things saying, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, it all goes back. It all goes back before any of us were even born. So at the story we all have heard, but I'll say it for some of us who may have not heard, is a story of Adam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Iblis, who later became Shaitan. So I'm just going to say a quick summary version of it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam, he asked everyone to bow. And everyone bowed except, everyone prostrated, put their heads down like we do in sujood, except for Iblis. Now, Iblis wasn't like, okay, he was a dummy, he didn't know. He was actually one of the people who worshiped Allah so much. But he looked at him and said, he's made out of dirt. I'm made out of fire. Now, I know it sounds silly to you and me, but this is like today, some people say, oh, I am this color skin and he's that color skin. Or I'm from this country or he's from that country. It's no different. So because of that one action, that Iblis became Shaitan and was casted to hellfire. Everything has domino affected since then. And now we have people who follow that mentality that think I'm better than that person. And this is wrong. And this is what the hatred comes from. This is where that meanness comes from that you see from so many different people and acting in such a way. And remember, at the very end, all of this doesn't matter. Allah put us from different tribes and nations. Why? So we can hate each other? No. So we can learn from each other, right? He made us different. So if we were all the same and we all had the exact same, let's say we all can draw the exact same way and we all had the exact same skills, nobody will learn anything. But maybe Auntie Hiba does something special that Baba Ali doesn't know how to do. And Baba Ali knows.
Can I ask you a question then?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? Because you said you are from Iranian heritage and I'm from South Asian Pakistani heritage. Can you tell me something that makes you unique that you would like me to know about you? Maybe I can share something that makes
do something
different.
that's special about almost all our different cultures, and that's maybe our foods.
Yeah.
What if we all had the exact same food? That'd be so boring. But imagine there's different foods, which it's not really hard to imagine because what we have right now. Sometimes you have chicken masala. Oh yeah, I like that. And sometimes you have chicken kebab. Oh, I like that too. And then sometimes you have fried chicken, and sometimes you have baked chicken. Sometimes you have chicken all different ways. Why would you be stuck with one way? And that's one way we can learn about each other, Andiba. We can share different foods from each other, different clothes, different things.
Can all our little friends just tell us one food that they like from somebody else's culture? That might be fun to write. Sushi. Someone likes sushi.
And I just had from Japanese culture.
I had Lebanese food just for dinner right now. Hummus. I love hummus.
There's couscous from Morocco.
Pizza.
Delicious.
Yeah. So it says pizza, and pizza, everyone says Italiano, make a pizza. But a lot of people, if they root it all the way back, it actually is from Chinese.
Oh, wow.
So we're talking right now about the fact that we come from different places. We may look different ways. We may have different likes and dislikes. We have beautiful things about the cultures that we come from. Some people say when they hear the phrase Black Lives Matter, that all lives should matter. Does everybody agree that all lives should matter? I don't think we disagree with that, right? Everybody agree with that? But if we focus only on being human beings, or we only focus on not seeing color, we sometimes deprive people of very important and special things about themselves. When people in the protest demonstrations say Black Lives Matter, they're not saying that other lives don't matter. They're expressing and voicing a feeling that they don't feel like Black lives matter the same as all lives matter in the United States. Does everybody understand that? That's really, really an important lesson. We don't have to pretend not to see color. We don't have to pretend that we're color blind. Allah tells us that difference and diversity is an important part of His creation. Let's just think about fruits for a minute. How many colors of fruits are there? How many textures of fruits are there? How many different tastes of fruits are there? A ton, right? And as Ali said, if they were all the same, wouldn't that be boring? No, we can have likes and dislikes. We can have favorites. We can have some things we eat and some things we just don't. And in all parts of the world, different fruits are grown. Not all fruits grow in every single part of the world. So Allah has made a huge, huge planet and world for us. All of it is designed for our success. But we have to focus attention on the guidance He provides. Other parts of the Quran talk about standing up for justice. Don't you know these protest demonstrations are about expressing and voicing feelings and concerns, right? They want people to hear and acknowledge those feelings. but they're also about standing up for injustice. There are two places in the Quran where Allah talks about standing up for injustice. One is in Surah Nisa, that's Surah 4, Ayah 135. He says, "O you who believe, uphold justice and bear witness to God, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or your close relatives." In another place, in Surah Ma'idah, that's Surah 5, Ayat 8, he says, "O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm for Allah, witnesses in justice, and do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being unjust." I want to give you an opportunity to talk to us about what you're seeing and feeling. We can unmute your mics if you raise your hand and would like to share anything you're feeling about what's going on, or anything you're thinking, or any question you might have about it. Would anybody like to share? Yahya, would you like to share something? Go ahead, Yahya, we're listening.
When I came to America, I had a lot of troubles in school, but then I remember anything, and then I told my parents about what I do, and I like to tell my parents what to do, and I just ignore it, and I have a lot of trouble at work, and then I realized that I help my parents to understand them, and I try to be nice to my job coaches, and I work hard and make a lot of money.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So Yahya is expressing that he's had trouble himself with people treating him unfairly. And what he did was something very important. He didn't just take that on himself. He talked to his parents about it. He tried to make sure that anything that was going wrong was addressed head on. And he also articulated, he said that he tried to make sure he acted himself in the way that he wanted to be treated. Thank you for sharing, Yahya. Would anybody else have any questions or like to share anything? Sometimes these issues are really hard to talk about. Fatma, would you all like to share something? There's a couple of you on the couch, so I'm not sure which one would like to share. Would you like to share? No? Okay. It's okay. One of the things we can agree to when we ask about sharing our feelings is we can all agree that we will not hold anybody's feelings and make fun of them. We understand that it's hard to share feelings. And it's important, especially in this day and time, that we let people voice what it is they're feeling so that we can all try to better understand, excuse me, understand one another. Hiba, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, my first suggestion was if anyone's feeling a little shy or uncomfortable to say it, maybe they can type their question. I'm reading the chat as well. So Fatma Shahzad's family or anyone else who wants to type, we can pay attention to your feelings or your questions over there.
One of the things that somebody typed was, and I don't know the name here because the name isn't there, it says many movies and comics influence racism, especially European comics. That's absolutely true. Children and adults learn and reinforce racist behavior in the media, by the music they listen to, by the people that they hang around and are influenced by. So all of these things help to shape the way we think about others. Remember, racism is based on stereotypes and prejudice. Does anybody know what that word stereotypes or prejudice means? No? And those are really important words to keep in context here. Prejudice is using some kind of quality about a person, whether it's correct or not, as your way of responding or acting toward them. If, for example, people don't know any Muslim people and they only listen to the media, maybe they would think that all Muslims are terrorists. Do you believe that?
No.
Oh, no way. No way. They might believe that, though, if they only looked at the television, if they didn't know any Muslim people who were their neighbors, or other students in their class, or their teachers, or their doctors. If they didn't know any Muslims to know different than what they see, they might follow a stereotype, and then they might be prejudiced or act upon that stereotype in a negative way towards someone else. These are two words you should write down. Can you please write down prejudice? I'll spell it for you. It's spelled Prejudice. Prejudice. The other word that I wanted you to write down was stereotype. And that, there you go. Somebody wrote it down for us. Stereotypes. We're going to talk in a little while about what you can do. These words are important to know because knowing about these words can help you act in a different manner yourself. Hiba, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, Sister Zahra, someone in the comments wrote, I have a statement that they would like to share. And it says, I don't know why people have to hurt other people's feelings with racism. So I thought maybe Baba Ali or someone else could explain to me why are people hurting? Like, what, are they just bad? Is their brains bad? Is their hearts bad? What's going on? Why are people acting racist?
Well, you know, a lot of people, when they don't understand other people, it makes them scared of other people. And when people are scared, they do things that they shouldn't be doing. You know, a lot of people, they're like, for a long period of time, a lot of people didn't like Muslims. And still there's people who don't like Muslims. And the reason we don't like Muslims is not because Muslims are bad people, is because whatever has been like showed to them on TV made Muslims look like bad people, right? Sometimes the news may cover Muslims in a very negative way and shows only the bad Muslims, never shows the good Muslims, even though there's like 99% like good people Muslims doing good things, only that 1% that does bad, everyone's paying attention to that person because that makes it interesting for people to watch TV. It doesn't mean it's true, but sometimes people look at that, and if that's the only Muslims they see, they think all Muslims think that way. And that's just not true. So what happens is people start disliking Muslims even without knowing, not even ever even seeing a Muslim in real life. But what changes that is people like learning about what Muslims believe in. And once they learn about Islam, or more importantly, even interacting with Muslims like us, their opinions start changing. And so, wow, the news shows you guys like this, but you guys are really like this. And I have a Muslim neighbor who had fasting during the month of Ramadan, and they offered us food, and they told us about this. And I was like, wow, these people are really nice people. And that's why it's so important as us, as being like representatives of Islam and how we interact, because we kind of remove that ignorance from people that's given in other way. Unfortunately, it's given through like the news and through other stuff. And we kind of like teach people. And this is the same thing with different races and cultures. Sometimes one race doesn't understand another race. Oh, all those people are like that. Well, do you have any friends of that race? No. Well, maybe that's not a real accurate statement you're saying. Maybe you shouldn't say something you don't understand. So, and this is where it comes down to, for us to learn about each other, understand each other, that just because we're different, that difference doesn't make you better or worse. It's just maybe we should learn a little bit more about each other, and then we won't be acting in ignorant ways where people are doing things what they're doing right now.
So it seems like a lot of racism stems from fear, just being afraid of someone that you don't understand.
Yeah.
I think the other important thing to remember about racism, though, is that someone benefits from it, right? Sometimes that is not as clear on an individual level as it is when you start looking at policies and practices over time. In the United States, there's a ton of policies that affect housing, laws, police actions, economics, education, that have maybe not in their words an implication of being racist, but they have an effect of impacting people of different races differently. And this is what we talked about when we talked about the roots of racism in the United States being tied all the way back to slavery. And this is why some of the pain is so deeply felt. There's a saying, and I think this makes sense, that hurt people, right? People that have some level of pain themselves don't have any problem inflicting pain on someone else. Sometimes people make themselves feel better by putting people down. How many of you in your schools talked about the issue of bullying? Raise your hand. Anybody? Bullying is something we can understand. You know, a bully picks on somebody else. And they sometimes are very mean to other people. And sometimes they make themselves about themselves by being mean to others. And I agree, Fadlil. It is very sad for Black people in the United States right now. But lots of people are standing up and trying to do something about it. And we know that when we talk about racism, and this is why we have decided to do this program this way, we have to realize that being silent about it is part of the problem. There are ways that we can help by changing our own behavior, and we can stand up for other people who are feeling pain and who are suffering. Let's continue to think about some of what we are seeing in the news. Hiba mentioned she's in Pakistan. She even sees pictures of what's going on in the United States all the way across the world. I live in Washington, D.C., right outside of the nation's capital. And there were protest demonstrations in Washington, D.C., where the police even beat up and used tear gas on peaceful protesters. So it can seem like a dangerous time to stand up, because maybe people will not like to hear about these problems, will not like to hear that we want to see change, right? Ali lives in Los Angeles, outside of Los Angeles. You want to talk a little bit about things that are going on in Los Angeles now, Ali?
Yeah, if in Los Angeles, there's a lot of people, you know, they're on the streets. There's some things happening, like people are angry, people are frustrated, people want change. So they're on the streets and they're protesting, and they're letting their voices be heard on that they want change. And they're just tired of the same thing happening over and over and over again. And, you know, it's interesting, as I said earlier, that 2020 has been a strange year because COVID-19 left a lot of people that had a lot of free time to really think. And if everyone was working right now, maybe they wouldn't be able to do like the type of protests they're doing right now to let their voices be heard, because they had to go to work. I mean, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because if the right things happen at the right time, this allows a lot of people to have the opportunity to be out there, to work, to show that this is not just one person that got affected by racism, but there's a lot of people being affected by racism. Unfortunately, their voices were never heard. But as a group, they're letting people know it's not just one person or two people or hundreds of people. It's everybody wants change. And if you look at the protests, it's not just like African-American people. It's not brown people, Black people. You'll see people from all races and all colors and all backgrounds. Now you're thinking, wow, there's a lot of people in Los Angeles. Well, it's not just Los Angeles. There's states all across the United States that are coming out. And you're like, wow, that must be a lot of states. And no, it's more than that. In fact, they had this humongous protest in London. Wait a second, is there slavery in London? Well, there's racism all across the world, and people want change, and people want to be treated the same. People want equality, and this goes back all the way to what we were discussing earlier, what Islam has told us the solution 1,400 years ago. 1400 years ago, the Prophet ﷺ told us that an Arab is no better than a non-Arab. He showed us that your skin does not make a difference. In fact, the first muadhin, the first person to give the adhan, a very high honor, is not, okay, let's find an Arab, because this is, Islam came to the Arabs. No, 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 no. This is like, who do we give the highest honor to? Bilal. Now, to you guys, like, Bilal is, mashallah, amazing sahabi. Yes, for us right now. But back then, for that community at that time, he was, quote unquote, a slave, right? And that's like the lowest class of as far as people, right? Now, back then, there was slavery like it was in this country, but the slavery was a bit different. There were slaves not just based on skin color, it was based on classification. You had Salman al-Farsi, which was a Persian slave, and there was a Roman slave. So they didn't care what color you were. They just said, you're a slave, unfortunately. But when Islam came is try to get rid of this slavery, this idea, and also up the level of human beings so we're all the same. By the way, I know we're talking about race right now, but Islam did much more than just race. One thing was, did you guys know, I see there's many faces of women here, many girls today. Did you know that at the time of Islam, before Islam, people, when they had a baby girl born, they would just throw her into the grave. Oh, we don't want her. They didn't treat women the same as men. They didn't treat girls the same way as boys. And Islam came to resolve that as well, to say women and men are equal. And this is something they'd never heard of before. What? How could that be? Yes, they're equal. And you must treat the animals fairly. And you must treat people fairly. You must not judge for the difference of skin color or what country or what tribe you're from. And all of these things were new for people, but it educated us so we don't think like the way some people think right now. And if we go by what Islam teaches, we won't have the type of issues we have right now. And this is why Islam came as a mercy for the entire world, so we can resolve all these issues. And as long as we don't have Islam, we'll continue to have these type of issues that come and build hatred and ignorance among us.
So I wanted to respond to a couple of the comments that have been posted in the chat. One of the people mentioned something about Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump important to this process? Yes, everybody is important to the process, but he's important in a different way. He is the president of the United States. And what he says and what he does has far-reaching implications on how others act. And right now, it's not seeming like he's helping. In fact, it's seeming like he's hurting. There's a question about whether or not in the protests there's social distancing. I think that's a good question. My daughter, Sakina, who's 21 years old, kept telling us how much she wanted to go to the protest in Washington, D.C. My husband, who's African American, didn't want her to go because he was worried about not just her safety in the protest, but about the coronavirus. It is still something that's out there, but many people have put their fear of coronavirus on the back burner in elevating their need to voice what's going on, and what they're feeling and what's going on in our country front and center. Sakina went to a demonstration 2 days ago. She made sure she had her mask on. She stayed as far away as she could from people, made her feel better to be part of what she thought was change, what she thought was standing up against injustice. And Allah tells us to do that. There are hadiths that talk about if you see injustice, how you should respond. First, you should change it with your hands, if you can. Not everybody can. Second, if you can't change it with your hands, change it with your tongue. You could at least say something if you're not strong enough to approach it with your hands. Maybe you're still not able to say something with your tongue. The last and the least significant, but still important, is to hate it in your heart. Changing the way we handle each other, making sure that we change the world according to the guidance that we have, is all about changing hearts. Heather in our chat says that her 20-year-old brother is right now participating in a peaceful demonstration in Columbus, Ohio. There are these demonstrations going on all over the country and all over the world, as Ali mentioned. She says that he feels that he has to let his voice be heard. He said that this movement is even bigger than the civil rights movement. They're referring there to the civil rights movement of the 1960s, where back then again, African American people stood up and said that their rights were they did not have the rights they needed to live, just like that young boy sang in his song, just to live. And there were changes that were made back then in the society. But at that time in the civil rights movement, most of the people that were protesting were African Americans. What does feel very different about right now is what Ali mentioned when he mentioned how diverse the crowds are in these protests, how much everyone seems to acknowledge that what happened to George Floyd, the man that I mentioned was killed by a police officer on May 25th, was wrong, and there was no good in it. It was wrong, and it should never have happened. It was wrong, and it should never happen again. There are lots more messages, and people are agreeing with some of what we're saying. We're happy that we were able to come together with you to talk about this in a different way. I love to hear Baba Ali come in on these programs and be funny and find ways of helping you learn about the world you live in using humor and comedy. I love to have Auntie Hiba read to you books that help bring about different experiences that may help you understand a lesson better, or how she brings in the seerah, what we can know about the Prophet ﷺ's life and his ways that teach us about the guidance of Allah. But today we thought we had to do something differently. We are all parents. I have 6 children. Hiba, tell us about your children. 4 children. Ali has two children. You've met them online. As parents, we care about the world we live in. We care about helping children understand the world we live in. We do that in our own homes. And we also do that as teachers. So again, we're very happy to come together with you today. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to share with anybody before we go to another very special part of the program, which is going to be about what do we do now? Fadlil, I don't see your face on the screen, but you've been very active in the chat today. Do you want to share anything else with us as we get ready to close our program?
Fadil said something really nice earlier as well, that his song, Fadil wrote earlier that the song was strong, but it makes me very sad.
It is a sad song.
I think not just the song, I think this whole situation, people are being strong and brave by protesting, and people who can't go to protests are being strong by reading the news, because sometimes it's just painful to follow the news. So we are showing strength, but it's okay to be sad as well. Things are really complicated, right?
The reason I wanted to show that song today is because I thought that it conveyed how deep the emotions are. If you aren't a Black person, you might not know that emotion tied to racism in the United States. But you can hear the sadness and the pain in Kedron's message. And it was only a minute long, right? Sometimes the pictures that we see and having somebody voice something themselves is the strongest way of understanding what's going on. Yeah. Someone else mentioned that the song makes me more sad because he never mentioned white. It shows how good Blacks are even when they are being harassed. We don't have to take on the bad behavior of others who act badly. In fact, we shouldn't. Muslims have guidance. All of us, Hiba and Ali and myself, have talked about that. And that's where we need to center ourselves as Muslims. Allah didn't leave us without guidance. And the guidance that was presented in the Quran and in the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ many, many, many years ago is still relevant for us today. So we have a couple of things we wanted to do to close the program. Number one, we've got some homework for you. Okay, listen up. We're going to continue this conversation tomorrow. And what we want you to do between now and then, we'll be back on the air at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We want you to make your own sign. You don't have to leave the comfort of your home to attend a protest demonstration, but we want you to make a sign. Anything that speaks to injustice, anything that you want to say that would help you stand up against injustice. You can make that sign and take a picture of it and send it to us at classes, CLASSES at soundvision.com. And maybe you should do both. You can bring it tomorrow to our class at 12 o'clock, and we'll have everybody share their sign at that time. Out of cardboard, sure. Out of a regular piece of paper or construction paper, sure. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. The most important thing would be the message. What message do you want to send about injustice? The last thing we're going to do is something called affirmations. Does anybody know what that word affirmations means? It comes from the root word affirm, which means to acknowledge, to emphasize, to reinforce. Affirmations, it's AFFIRMATIONS. Thank you, Hiba, for correcting that. Affirmations are something that can help us mentally get our minds and our hearts in the right place. And so I'm going to unmute everybody's mics. And myself and Hiba and Baba Ali are going to make a statement, which is an affirmation. And we're going to ask you to repeat after us. I'm going to unmute everybody so we can all hear the beauty of our voices together. Okay? You ready? Thumbs up. Everybody agree we can handle it? Yes, alhamdulillah. Okay, let's see. Okay, everybody's unmuted. So remember, we'll make a statement and then we'll pause and you say that statement after us, okay? I'm going to start. We are Muslims.
We are Muslims.
Allah has given us guidance.
Allah has given us guidance.
We just have to follow it.
We just have to follow it.
I'm going to pass to Hiba.
We trust in Allah's plan.
We
trust in Allah's plan. We are strong.
We are
strong. We have soft hearts. We have soft hearts. We will work hard.
We work hard. Ali, your turn.
We are fair.
We are fair.
We will treat everyone fairly.
We will treat everyone fairly. We can be the change we want to see.
We can be the change we want to see.
Knowledge is the leader of action.
Knowledge is the leader of action.
And this is the last one. This work will be hard.
This work will be hard.
But we can do it all together.
But we can do it all together.
Okay. I want all of you to give everybody a big thumbs up today. Alhamdulillah. How did you like today's program? We'll be back tomorrow, inshallah, at 12 o'clock noon Eastern. That's Eastern Daylight Time. Check the time in your local area if that's different for you. Remember, you have homework. Bring your sign that speaks to injustice to share with us tomorrow. And inshallah, we will continue this very important conversation. Thanks to our hosts, Baba Ali and Auntie Hiba, for the work they did, not just today, but leading up to this program. As I mentioned before, we're really happy to be back online with you. And we have regularly planned to do that for the entire summer. So we look forward to learning with you, helping you learn about the world you live in a very unique way. Take care, make lots of dua, and we'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.